It's gonna be a messed up show. I don't think you're like hilarious. I'm like, it's gonna be stupendous. No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be devastating.
We put the stupid in stupendous.
This because that's how we do it. And you
So
know what? I forgot
fair.
this. Forgot to tweet about it.
I put out a little tweet if you just want to go and hit the retweet. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. Peace, peace. Thank you.
it's New Year's Eve, and
Eve,
I
Eve.
just want to hang out with my buddy. And if we get people in the chat, then that's great. But if not, I'm not going to be too crestfallen about it. Welcome anyone may or may not be watching this to the best of our week, as we are definitely going to be running into some technical difficulties. Both TK and I have the flakiest of internet connections right now, so
It's
it might
weird.
get weird.
I have to say, I think you're right. I think it's the rain. I think it does some weird stuff where it just kind of cuts out a little bit. But
Yep.
I'm like, so I was telling Juan before the show started, I'm like, it's going to be a messy one. I mean, you turn 50 and things start going downhill from
Our
there.
50th episode is going to be just the most glorious train wreck to watch. Yeah, it's going to be real good. Hey, we got
one way to fix
Barry
it.
and Sebastian. They're popping in to say hey. So at
Hey.
least the signal's making it out to a few people out there.
I'm glad, the
that's
pulse is
good.
going. The pulse is going. I want to say officially, obviously, welcome back to the best of our week, the last episode of 2021, episode 50. We turned 50 today, and I appreciate. Actually, honestly, I appreciate the fact that we were able to hang out because I didn't think this was going to happen. Like I said, internet-wise, today has been flaky at best. I haven't been able to play Call of Duty, and I know that's not something that a lot of people are worried. But I kept, it just changed the mood of the day. Plus, I worked
Well,
on a
we
very
just
long
had
video.
we had like rolling brownouts throughout most of the morning.
A whole bunch
and
of parts
the rain
here in
was
in
messing
my
us up
area.
pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. They've been losing
Yeah.
power throughout. So, but the rain kind of tapered off. We didn't lose all of it. We still have like little sprinkles here and there, but it's not as heavy as it was yesterday. Hey, it's not 180p.
It's not
Yeah.
180p now. We can't guarantee that it won't drop to 180p in a couple minutes.
Minutes. I'm actually going to try not to change any settings because if I try to do anything, it's going to bork the whole thing.
Yeah, if I move from here and I touch anything on my desk, the entire thing could go board.
I think
So-
that's how it goes.
So I wanna sort of preempt our conversation. We're gonna spend most of this time talking about folding phones. There's a lot to talk about with bendy screens and dual displays and stuff. But TK, I did a thing.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my duo. Oh, I miss you so much. I will not be joining you anytime relatively soon in the world of Sony cameras. I was trying to figure out.
You bought another G8. Oh man.
No. This is even better. So I was trying to find some way of just kind of cleaning up. As you can see, this is a slightly different angle than I usually shoot. So
Slightly.
I've got like
it's
new,
also a
new
little bit
setup
darker.
here.
Yes, so
So
anyways.
I got a real good deal on another Lumix G9. So I would finally have two matched camera bodies that both do 4K 60 and have built-in webcam modes, and I can trade the lenses. And it was $50 more than if I bought a ZV-1. And I couldn't pass that up for a Micro Four Thirds monster camera. So,
Dude,
unfortunately,
for that price, I don't blame you, and I'm totally with you. You're right.
for
you
the
have-
near
you have to
term,
go.
I'm gonna be kicking it with my
Kicking it.
my Panasonic gear for a bit longer.
It's going to be Juan Lumix all the way. I first and foremost, obviously, whatever works for you, it needs to make sense and it needs to fit your setup.
Whatever works for you.
yeah,
You're garbage.
I'm still disappointed in you. I'm still very disappointed that it's a really
I
bad
got
way to
full-
end the year. I mean, way
TK
to
Dad.
short off.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry, Juan. I'm just disappointed. Okay?
All of those conversations that we've had, Juan. I mean, I think at this point,
It was $50 more than a ZV-1.
You
or
could've.
I could have sold off every piece of camera gear that I have just to get one Sony Alpha camera body. So I feel like
I'm with you. I'm kind of also feeling the pain with. So Sony was nice enough to let me borrow the A7S A7 IV. I mean,
Oh,
obviously,
nice.
I have it for next week for CES. I was lucky enough because I was trying to get it earlier, but they didn't have a unit, so I have it for a week, another week to go before I have to return it. They're expensive, man. Sony
Oh yeah,
bodies, especially
they're
if you're
so
buying them
nice.
like brand new, they're really really nice, so good. But yeah, like I can't really. Sorry, I gotta put it, make sure it's safe. I don't blame you. This I think 2,500 for the body
Oh yeah,
itself without any lenses, and then of course with taxes and everything, like you're close to like 3K.
yeah.
Very, yeah, no, definitely. I really really like it. So this is what, the thing is, I sold my A7S III because I wanted to get this one. I got like $1,200 or $1,300, but after all the fees and stuff, like about $1,200 from the A7S III. So it's not
Hmm.
a lot. I mean, it's still a jump because I
Yeah.
have to pay the taxes, which it's weird now. Like you buy things, you pay taxes, you resell them as used.
Pay
Whoever
taxes
is buying,
on
they have to
whatever
pay.
you made from reselling them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like okay, I okay, I understand that they're trying to,
It's
but
like
they're
they
just like
they they double dip on it,
it's a double
and
tax on the same item that was
ah,
it was paid at retail and then it was paid at resale. Now I didn't pay the tax when it was sold. The buyer bought paid the tax, but they're
right.
buying it as if it's you know what I mean? Like it's a new item, but it's a used
Hmm.
item. I can't really figure out how it goes there, but
It's all kinds of messed up, and especially for those of us who do like to flip gear, there's
yeah, it's
it.
because if I wanted to buy another used camera or something like that, let's say if I wanted to buy another one like one of mine, I have to pay tax on it as well. So
Hmm.
it's always the story is I'm glad they let me borrow it. I'm going to see how it handles next week. I'm sure it's going to
Hmm.
handle it like a champ.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
There's no
awesome.
question. Yeah, no, no. This is literally like the best of the whatever you need. Like this is it. But I'm still very very antsy about pulling the trigger on a 25 close to $3,000 expense. YouTube hasn't been that good for me for over the holidays, which over the years typically it actually is much higher. Like it goes
Oh,
up
there
much
there
much
was
more.
there was very little YouTube surge this year,
Yeah, it,
so
it was very very interesting, and I worked all day today too on a very long. Actually, I did one of my longest videos ever
oh nice,
on a phone, which I
that's
shouldn't.
great. So yeah, I got some earbuds out. Tomorrow, I'm going to be
Oh,
doing my 2021 recap for
hmm,
LG phones. So LG phones in 2021. It's maybe one of the best videos I've put together probably ever
I'm
because
looking forward to seeing the lineup. I heard there was a lot.
we're all very anxious to know how LG performed. Are LG phones still worth it in 2021, even though they came out in 2020? So it's going to be a pretty critically exciting video. I think
I like
this is going to be one of those like break the internet, break YouTube kinds of
and you do that
videos.
right at New Year's Eve. So my video is very very long, but it's not going to be on LG. It's going to be on the Find N.
Ooh,
I didn't think I was going to go it that long, but I it's a 31-minute video. So
nice.
and I kind of like I feel
Well,
like when
is
you
that
do
where we
videos
want
though.
to, like let's
Let's
kind of
start.
shift
Yeah,
gears and let's get into our folding phones. We can
yeah, yeah.
save the sort of phone challenge because we have a phone trade happening right now. But you're playing with this fancy new Oppo that took the internet by storm,
I
and it
was
looks real
very,
cute.
very surprised. It is very, not only that, apparently, but it also is super, super fingerprint sense. Oh my God.
Hmm.
Like most Oppo phones, you have to walk around and it only works if you have a OnePlus Chamois. Apparently it only works with OnePlus Chamois.
Do I still have? I don't think I have a One Plus. I have a Circuit City one.
Oh, I have OnePluses, I have TCLs. TCL's been serving me well. I even have a Ford one that came with my car. And I was like, really? No,
So when I was working at Pocket Now, we used to get those dbrand skins because
mhm.
Pocket Now was
Oh,
real
that's right.
chummy
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
dbrand back in the day,
I
and so
was
they
gonna
would
say.
send a box of like 5 different copies of every kind of skin that they sold for that phone. And in the pack for each one would be its own microfiber cloth. I still have about 15 over on my bookshelf, still originally wrapped. And I
So
haven't been in Pocket now for
you're set for
years
2022.
now.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're set for 2022 now.
I think I'm still gonna be fine. Every time I
Speaking of,
kind of use one a little bit, I just sort of throw it away and get another one, and I don't need to keep them around. They're almost disposable.
this is gonna sound weird, but you sound like Justin Bieber and him not using underwear twice. I don't know if you remember that story. I don't know why I'm bringing Justin Bieber with this.
Sure. I'm just more impressed that that is a piece of Justin Bieber trivia that you
I
had at
I
the
don't
ready.
I don't know why. It's something I heard a while
Maybe.
back. It may be true. It may be bad. Whatever it is, please drive safely to everybody, and be safe. David Burns. We'll see you guys next year. You know what? Actually, surprisingly though, for a week that I was thinking I was going to take off, there's this changed everything. Like it showed up. I didn't think it was going to show
Deservedly.
up.
Yeah.
Initially when they said they were going to try to find to see if they have an extra unit and so on, I thought that typically meant we'll get to you next year kind of a conversation.
Right.
And then I got a notification from my buddies at DHL and I'm like, hey, there's a package coming from China. And then I got a little bit scared. It went to Cincinnati and then it came all the way to Van Nuys and then it came over to me. But anyways, yes, it's very nice. Everything that I said last time about it that I was anticipating it would be, it is. It's weird.
Nice.
Like it met my expectations. It's for the best way to explain it is it's the Duo 2 meets the C Fold 3, and I still think it's a marriage between them, and this is somewhere in between. It has some of the functionalities of the Duo.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like the Duo. It misses a lot of parts, like the flicking, the ability of full screening and doing everything. I think like the gestures on the Duo 2, which you did. Okay, so first thing is from a status update. I really, really like this. I really like this. Very, very fluid, very quick, very like so different than the first generation.
Oh, yeah.
The first one I felt like there was an adjustment period. This one was just I felt like I was at home. Logged in with my Microsoft account. I logged in with my my Gmail. Everything works exactly. The display looks really nice. The fingerprint sensor is much more on point, like really
I
quick.
think like 90 hertz is the sweet spot too. Like I know we're supposed to
yeah.
care about 120 or 144 hertz or whatever it is. But
For
honestly,
yeah.
just smoothing out some of those animations and transitions at 90 hertz, I think, is where you pressed it over.
Oops, sorry.
And I think it was the right kind of sort of middle place to land when you're going to be powering two discrete screens on such a thin product with such a small battery.
But not just that though. It's just the fluidity and how good the quality of the display. See here, hey, Sony likes it. It's just beautiful, thin, and I don't know if I want to say that it feels like actually better. Like the hinges are better than last year, but it's because I haven't held one since the last time I borrowed yours last year. So mechanically, the feel, the display, the little peak area on the side for if you have notifications.
Isn't it cute? It's
little
just
bit
cute.
like little things, yeah, right. You have it on the table. You don't have to open it up. You can have it like a kind of nice little option there. I haven't had a chance to use the cameras yet. I've been focusing more with this guy, the X70 Pro Plus, which surprisingly feels a little heavier in the hand than most devices. I don't know why. Isn't
It's
it?
not
Like,
as top heavy. It's not as top heavy as the Xiaomi, but it is a weighty bugger. It really
and
is.
you feel it. Like we went to what's it called, Magic Mountain, a couple of days ago, before the rain or during one of the breaks on Sunday, and went there and took it with me, and I was like literally all over the place. And at some point, I was like, wait, this is heavier than my. I was holding the S21 Ultra at the time. Like this is heavier than the S21 Ultra. I was like, dang.
It really is.
It's I do love the customization that we got. Hopefully we can get
Yes.
Sony. Come on, Sony.
Lex's decoration,
Yeah, right
I feel,
there.
was on point. That is exactly
Right there.
how I feel about the X70 Pro Plus. It is beach ball.
Beach ball, absolutely. Beach beach ball quality. But no, seriously though, the pictures out of that phone is like crazy good.
They're
like
fun.
Really, like they're
So there are so many players that I think are competing well in that tier. The X70 Pro Plus for me was a delicious goulash of camera. There's so much going on. There are so many different features and modes and settings. It really is just like, let's take the camera spice rack and dump it all into a pot and just see what comes out of it. And it's probably going to be pretty tasty. Not all of it works, but it's just an assault on how many different features and settings and modes, and everything has a reason. You might not use it, but
I'm sure I haven't
there's like
even.
a purpose behind every piece of it. So when you look at that like camera breakdown, you see the 4 different sensors, and you're like, well, couldn't you do this, or you could kind of get away with using this, or if you cropped in. No, you can see where the engineer said, oh, if you're going to do portraits, we need to have a whole other camera sensor on there just for portraits,
I'm
and
back.
they're kind of not wrong. It's just a little messy, but it's really fun, I think, to dig in and explore.
Definitely. And I started, when you gave me the heads up on it may not be as fast as loading things as some of the other phones, but
Oh
it
yeah,
definitely, works, even though it's an 888 plus. I
you
totally
can feel
understand
it,
what you mean.
right?
You could, absolutely. Yeah.
It does
It's,
not seem to run as hot as
no.
like a Xiaomi will. I mean, because I'm playing with the Mi 11 Ultra, and it's bringing me right back to the Mi 11. It feels a little unleashed, even though I know the most recent update on MIUI has kind of toned down some of that upper tier performance. Like I know my Mi 11i got like almost a 10%
Dip.
degrade
Yeah.
dip on the CPU. That's a better word for it. I'm just trying to make a thing that didn't work.
I know. I know.
But the Mi 11 Ultra feels of a similar variety where it's got this super powerful engine. It can't really quite cool it, and it kind of lets it go unchecked until you get into a thermal throttle situation that you need to rein it back in. And the Vivo is like the polar opposite of that. It's an 888 plus that loses a number of those fights, but to me it seems a bit more sure-footed. It seems like more consistent performance, even though I know I can't count on the most bleeding edge foot race kind of performance.
Yeah, no, I think it didn't really bother me at all. It was more about when I was trying to, like, every time I unlock the phone and get into the camera, I can see like it takes a slightly little bit longer, but it's not enough to actually, sway me from using the camera or wanting to use the different functions. I think overall, I was just surprised, very much surprised of how good the images come out of it, even when you're not using the pro mode, and when you're trying to switch over to like night mode or try to take different shots. Because we were there at Magic Mountain till pretty late, till about 8 o'clock. So I started. There is this. I think it's called Crazanity, but depending on different parks, they call it differently. So essentially, it's poles standing up really high with basically a lot of LED lights at night, especially with the New Year. I think it's a Christmas lights, the holiday in the park they call it. So it was very good for me. It was just enjoyable, very nice to actually walk around. My son was enjoying the rides with his friends, and of course I was just taking. I love going to Magic Mountain for camera tests. You'll see Magic Mountain most of my camera tests as if that's my playground. It's like right backyard. But that was the surprise there. So for me, it's weird. I like the Duo 2 more for functionality, like multitasking, and I'm liking this X70 Pro Plus for the cameras. Nothing against the Duo 2, but I feel like you gave me a perfect phone split into two.
I really didn't get to finish. I had just kind of. I need to go back through and just sort of revise a few things in my script before I sit down and shoot. But that Duo 2 camera review, the question I keep coming back to, is it really worth that bulge? And it's a very difficult question to answer. So it's funny, like I'm sitting here and playing with your Fold 3, and I really just can't care about the cameras, and I'm a little disappointed that this is such an expensive device, and there isn't an option from Samsung to include all of their productivity stuff and all of their content creator stuff in one device. Like there is no one crown jewel.
I don't understand. Yeah, and I don't know why they would. It almost seems like it's purposely. It is purposely done. Obviously, they could have gone. They could have done basically, balls to the wall. Just do everything and include everything. But it seems like it's a trend that most companies that create a foldable, that they almost feel like they've spent so much money on the tech for the folding mechanism that they just don't want to go a little bit more and put decent cameras and make sure that the cameras perform as good as some of their other options.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it is one of the minor talking points in my LG recap video, because techies, not anyone watching this stream, is incredibly rational, and they get tech better than most of the other tech enthusiasts out there. The people who are watching this right now, I'm absolutely preaching to the choir, because they're exceptional and they have excellent taste because they're watching us. But it's a problem where the companies that are looking at these foldables are trying to sell off of one crown jewel feature, and they kind of know that there's going to be some kind of silly backlash if the price gets too out of hand for a
Mm-hmm.
perceived value. Because look at Motorola. You don't want to
Okay.
put a foldable out there with a 765. That's not going to be worth it for the monies. I can buy a cheaper phone that has a more powerful processor. Or again, like you can look at something like the Wing.
Mm-hmm.
The Wing has a swivel hinge, has two discrete displays, has a pop-up selfie camera, which is motorized,
Mm-hmm.
and has a gimbal sensor, in this camera stack. It has that 765. It can't be worth it for the monies, and you're going to get savaged. So at least from Samsung's perspective, hey, we put in the mostest powerfulest SoC and we gimped your cameras at this price, but ooh, look at this folding screen display. And for some reason, because they're Samsung, they get to do that as a compromise, and no one else is ever allowed to mix parts and pieces to try and reduce their costs.
Yeah, no, I don't understand why we don't measure everybody by the same, to the same set of standards, I guess, to a certain point. Samsung's approach for me was, and I think so here's the thing. This is the third year we've had foldable smartphones. The design on the Z Fold has basically been the same year over year. We've changed the technology, the hinge mechanism, better seal, better technology, but for the most part, it's the same folding, format. The display got bigger on the outside, but it's still somewhat of not exactly as functional as a regular display.
Like it, yeah.
Huawei did a better job of that, but Huawei obviously will never be able to see that in the US. I think it's like the usability of the Z Fold for me, even with the Z Fold 3 right now, I feel like it's always going to be on the inside. Exactly. It's always going to end up being for me on the inside. The outside for me is very much like a quick note. We'll just kind of look at it real quick. I don't like typing, so I use voice to text.
Oh, good. I'm so glad I've got this larger canvas where on a website I can see like 4 lines of text and a photo.
Dude,
How
don't you look better
how
on a fold, man? Look at your no.
useful.
Scroll back down. Look at your picture, man. That top picture right there, Monday morning with that
Wow.
Christmas hat. Yeah, nobody else can pull that off.
I'm so glad that I have this much screen real estate
And
that
now
allows
just bring
me.
your face into the fire, and then we'll be fine. No, I meant if you folded your face. That doesn't matter. Um, it is a very there is an appeal to it. I like from the sense of, just like I said, the reason why I like this more, it's because it actually kind of marries the Duo to that form factor. It's actually
Hmm.
more of a basically a tablet size. It's 7.1 inches with, I think it's if
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken, 8.5 by 9 aspect ratio. It's not even the full, and it just feels more functional. It's one-handed, very much a one-handed phone.
See what you
This,
just held up there. I mean, because I've been going back through. I've got my Velvet, my dual
yeah.
display Velvet over
Hmm.
here. I've got my Wing. I've got your Fold 3. And when you hold up that Oppo, it makes me so excited to see sort of a smaller form factor front screen, and then there's the promise of opening it up
Yeah.
to get more real estate when you need it. Whereas Samsung's solution is the
Yeah.
wrong shape.
Yeah, it's the
I can
aspect ratio. It's very
I'm
very much like,
always in between, and the only time I like. Ooh, I almost dropped it. The only time I like using the Fold is when I'm split screening in more of the landscape view.
mhm.
And then it's because I've got squarer halves
It would fit.
on
It
each
fits
side.
exactly. Yeah, you feel like you're using two regular, I guess, formatted apps. But this one
Sure.
here, it's done natively. When I open up two apps on this, if I just, let's say here, I'll open up Twitter and hopefully we can focus. Come
See,
on, Sony.
see, I want more like
Okay.
that. That to me,
And
because
oh, here we are. Okay, so here,
there we
so
go.
you could see full size. I mean, I can still
That
do this format. It keeps it, but this
just
is the
looks
native.
better.
This is the native resolution. I open it up, and if I close it and open up on the front, it keeps the back. I can't just do it there. Come on, Sony. Okay. I promise it keeps the split screen functionality running. You can actually keep the split screen going from inside to the outside. A lot of really nice shortcuts. One of my favorite ones was where, let's say you're using the Google Play Store. I can do a two swipe fingers from the top to the left. It splits this, it takes the app to the left side of the screen and it keeps my launcher on the right. Very much
like a
this.
Duo.
Oh my God.
I love
the moment I
that.
had that, I was like, oh, that was a Duo. You learned that from the Duo. You should have a little thing at the bottom says, I learned that from the Duo. Because this is literally like, these are little, like little gems you find, and then you realize how much, like they've done their homework. OPPO didn't release it because they were like, well, we just want to put another foldable out there. They really focused on what they were trying to do. Honor's coming up with a foldable as well, and I think they're going with the longer aspect ratio, closer probably to what the
Yeah, isn't Huawei doing more of a Z Flip? Aren't they
so
coming out with?
yeah. So Huawei's had the Mate X for I think two generations, right? So they've had a foldable, one on the inside and one on the outside. The latter one is closer to what the Z Fold is. I think a lot of companies started to copy that. So they now went to the clamshell with the two circular, one a display and one a camera stack. And I think Honor, being that this is their first foldable, I don't know if it's going to be very much like a Huawei, their Mate X2 that they released, and just an Honor, since sometimes it takes a long time for hardware to kind of generate. So we'll have to see how that comes out. But it's called the Honor V. And if I'm not mistaken, it'll probably also be China only initially, and we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Because that's what this one is. This is a China only phone. You can buy it, but it's intended for the Chinese market.
And especially with something like that bleeding edge, there are a lot of people who would maybe like, well, you can flash this other ROM or you can get this other kind of software. And especially since there is no international flavor of this, I think it's probably not a great buy if you're looking to try and bring it here to the United States.
I'll say this. It works. It doesn't pick up 5G as you'd expect. Google Play Services is installable, so you can get it with GMS on it. It's not an issue. But most of the apps on it are in Chinese, like the search engine, everything. There's no integration, deep integration with, swipe to launch the assistant. You can't call on the assistant. You can install a custom launcher to get the experience a little bit better if you want to be able to get the gestures and double tap to launch the assistant, stuff like that. So I think Prime or Nova Prime would do a better installation there. I haven't installed it yet, but it also runs a special version of ColorOS 12. It's a ColorOS 12 over Android 11, not Android 12. Which is different than most of the other ones that we've seen on the market.
And honestly, especially with all of the teething pains that companies have been going through with Android 12, I'm not surprised.
It runs very much, way better. On the Find X3 Pro though, after the last update that I received, it actually became a lot better. They are finally out of beta for at least the Find X3 series.
I gotta say, for all of the ire, I don't want to like flip our podcast back to complaining about people complaining about OnePlus, but out of all of the products that have made the transition to Android 12, my OnePlus 9 Pro is actually kind of in the best shape right now. I never got the December update for the Pixel, and now that looks like it's going to be bumped to late January.
I heard.
The Fold 3, you've got me the Fold 3 on one of the beta ROMs, so I'm getting to play with like bleeding edge Samsung software, but Samsung pulled the public release.
Yep.
All these folks like, oh, I don't want Color OS, and you're like, you're kind of dumb right now. OnePlus seems to be kind of the best bet.
It's been a very big. It's like I said, I think a lot of people that may be making these statements are remembering, or they maybe have used ColorOS back with version 7 or earlier. And I'm not saying they were bad, but there was a lot of issues with the UI and the speed and the fluidity of the transitions, the animations, and so on. I feel like once they went to 11, it just became a very big improvement. They focused heavily on it. ColorOS 12 is definitely very good. The reason why I mentioned the 11 option because there are certain features that are on the FX3 Pro that are not here, and they're both running ColorOS 12 technically. So it comes along with Android 12 as opposed to where basically what we get there. Long story short, I think I saw the comment there from Walt where he's talking about. I think, where is it called? Yeah, as much as I admire the Find N, the software is still in its early days, and this is where Samsung has its advantages in the Fold. Absolutely, yeah. The Fold, this is the third generation. We have a Z Flip 3, we have the Fold 3.
But even for this being third generation, this is still wide open territory. Samsung has not nailed folding phones,
They haven't been
there's still
pushing.
plenty of room to improve upon what the Fold 3, how it performs, how it handles transitions, to get Android more aware of aspect ratios in different displays.
Yep.
I mean, for anyone who's ever read a reviewer and like, oh, companies shouldn't turn their customers into beta testers. This is the third generation of using your customers to figure out how folding phones might work, and then the next generation will get better. But this is still super new territory. Like there is no one winning solution right now.
No,
And the more
no,
I
no.
use the Fold 3, the more I'm like, you know, there are so many things the Duo does better, even when the software might be considered buggier. There are so many things I like about, discrete dual display over sort of a unified folding screen. There are so many lessons that we need to learn about how gestures should work or what someone's sort of preferences are. And the hardware that we have right now is all super new. So like 2 generations of Duos, 3 generations of Folds, 2 generations of Huawei's. That's not enough to declare a trend.
Yeah.
So again, like Samsung might have a little bit of a lead in some areas, but I'm telling you, there are some substantial usability concerns with the Fold 3 that I don't think Samsung can just address with like a quick little patch. I think it's a fundamental design challenge that they've walked themselves into, and none of this will be addressed until we see what like the Fold 4 and Fold 5 look like.
Yeah, and I think this is the we've become like you said, the beta testers for this event, for this form factor. I think the Z Flip will make a big impact, but
yes, and
I
see,
think
I mean, like, I think if we just walk into it honestly, I think we're fine with that. I'm so tired of pretending that like you can never care about a product until it's vetted by some type of reviewer who says that it's worth it to buy now that it's Gen 3. I mean, like, I lost Focals by North. There's literally nothing that compares to a heads-up display like the Focals.
and I'm back.
Hey, welcome back. So I've lost great products like Pebbles. I've lost great products like Focals by North. I'm tired of pretending that I'm a normie who's only an average consumer and can only use something once it's been perfectly polished and it's free of bugs, which isn't even true of the newest iPhone. I'm so ready to talk to other enthusiasts who can appreciate that like this is bleeding edge tech, and I expect there are going to be numerous teething pains, and I expect that the competition is going to do things in novel ways over the more mainstream companies, and I'm willing to put my money on that ride as opposed to pretending that like, oh, it can't be worth it till it's perfect. And like, that's never going to happen.
No, there's no such thing as a perfect phone. Even if the phones that you love today are somewhat of a small
Well,
compromise.
how
in some
many
aspect.
bullet point updates and bug patches and fixes on the current iPhone are there? Because
I
if
wish
it
I
just
know.
worked,
I don't know.
then
I know.
then
It
you wouldn't
it
need to
wouldn't
have
need-
updates.
Point builds should not be. Hey man, Samsung's following suit in December. There was another S21
I know.
patch update to Android 12. So yeah, no, I've
I know,
never received so many bug fix updates in 1 month.
I got like another alert on another update for my S10e, and I actually got kind of excited. Like, is this
Android 12?
Is this Android 12? And now again with everything that's been going on, like I'm kind of glad it's not, because my S10e is running so well. I kind of don't want to. I don't want to be a beta tester for Samsung's crappy software to them figure out how to get Android 12 to run on an older phone.
I think honestly, especially with software, with Android version upgrades, you do want to take your time. And it seems like, hey, Gary's back home. Welcome back.
Hey, everyone
Yeah,
say
we all
Gary.
love accounting. We all love accounting, man. Numbers are always our thing. Tech for your needs.
We
Appreciate
got some
it, man.
hellos. We got Tech for Your Needs, Gary the
A lot
Fireman.
of people. Yeah. No.
Sebastian,
And we saw El Jefe's in there.
reviews.
Of course, El Jefe always. So we'll have to kind of keep it to when we got a chance to start doing our our final like handoff and
Mm-hmm.
experiences and things going on. What we have is it's better than where we were, but we are still, like you said, in somewhat of a. They're still exploring different options. They are, they added a like here it is in all of their wisdom, they felt like adding an S Pen to the inside display that's more sensitive is way more worth it than to include a pen input to the external display on the Z Fold. Because, who would ever want to use a glass display more often? That wasn't something that they decided they wanted to do.
And that kind of goes into, so I really haven't, Aditya asked, how's the gaming experience on the Fold? And
well, I'll let you answer that one because I've...
Well, no, that's just it. Is like I really haven't tried. It makes me too nervous to dig in, and the only way that I would maybe consider playing games on this is with one of my controllers.
Yeah.
And in which case, it's genuinely no different than any other phone that I can just hook up to a controller. It's things like that like. I'm sure it's fine, and I'm sure I could probably run a folding phone, plastic screen, bendy screen, and run it well for a year, not have any serious or major concerns. But the way I play twin stick shooters and the way I play action platformers and some of these RPGs, like, I don't think I would get the same kind of longevity out of it as I would, especially my 2018 and 2019 phones, like... Those Snapdragon 845s and 855s are still going strong.
Yeah.
And still play many of these titles. They're in great shape. They're getting to the point where they could probably use some battery swaps. But I'm not concerned about the screen in the slightest in the way that I am this brand new unknown. Like, how well is this screen really going to age with the kind of use I would put it through? There's no way to know that. So it's really just better to not. And
it truly wasn't. I don't think the Fold or folding phones were intended to be gaming phones. So this is the difference. I think they're supposed to be multitasking, productivity centric type of devices. Gaming is something that you're supposed to be able to do on them. Don't get me wrong. The reason why we'll see gaming phone, like part of my video for tomorrow has games, obviously. That was one thing I wanted to see. How do games play on the Find N? Because on the Fold, that's depending on the game that you're playing, you'll get a different experience. The approach that you get with these devices is they're supposed to play a very important part in multitasking, productivity, big display, run multiple things at the same time. Gaming is not a big focus. It's like, when you get a Black Shark, when you get an ROG phone, those are those are phones that are made to be worked very hard to game with them for hours. They're not going to have all of these, split screen multifunctional things and dual displays and all of that thing because they're not trying to focus on that. For the Fold, for me, casual gaming for me absolutely works great. If I really want to be able to play for an extended amount of time, I typically close it and use the external display because the form factor is a little bit more typical to what I used to when I play a game. It's not the perfect ratio because it just squishes things together. So it's almost like it's not a right format regardless. But if you're buying an $1,800 phone or a $2,000 phone to play games on them, it's like saying I want to buy a Duo, and the only reason why I want to buy this is because I want to be able to play a game and watch Netflix at the same time. You could have done that with a Velvet. You could have done that with a V60 at a much lesser price point, and you still have the dual display tech if you ever wanted, and you can always swap it out. There is a purpose for every phone that we get, and we need to appreciate that. And when we compare devices, compare them to devices that are in the same field. Absolutely. Yeah, the Velvet, exactly. To me, it's a perfect device meant for running two apps at the same time. You have the battery that supports it. You have the exact display on both sides. And NVIDIA's borking. Sorry. NVIDIA borked. Like it blurred the phone, but it didn't want to blur you. I think you should try it. I think you need to try to see how the gaming experience is, just to see how it's different. Because I don't think did I ever lend you the Fold 2 last year, or did we not do that one?
No, because
we did the Note.
I just wanted to steal your Note. So,
which, by the way, is still going strong. My wife loves it. I just had to replace the glass protector on it a couple of days ago, and
so good.
It is very, very good. Speaking of glass protectors, I have a glass protector for the Pixel 6 Pro.
Oh,
really
nice.
Good.
Which one did you get? Actually, just shoot me a link. I have a really crappy plastic one on there. So I need to get something else. But for Jeff, yes, this is an LG Velvet.
The Velvet, yes. The good. No, it
So
is Velvet.
what I don't think a lot of people still recognize, because if you remember when this phone came out, so many techies were like, "Oh, but who would want to keep this in their pocket? And it's so thick."
The adapter. I have the adapter for it right here.
I still have. Oh, mine's downstairs because I was charging it downstairs.
I lost the one. I lost the
gets-
one for the V60, but I have the one for the Velvet, which absolutely works.
So I have both, and I ordered a spare. So I've got 3 that I know where they are. It's very exciting. But for all the people that were complaining, like, "Oh, this is so thick. Oh, who could ever want to put this in their pocket? And what is LG thinking?" Even though the dimensions on the Fold 3 have shrunk,
A
it
little
is
bit.
still like a fraction of a millimeter thicker than the Velvet in its case. And then I'm going to put this in a case because you need to protect it.
So yeah,
This
not only,
is-
and I do have a glass protector on the outer display as well.
Hilarious. That again, it's like, oh, but I mean, it's taller. It's not as wide. I guess the dimensions. Like anyone who was making fun of LG's solutions for a case that protects your phone can be removed and includes a whole second display is just horrifically bad at tech. Like that is an opinion on technology you never ever need to listen to ever again.
I totally get it, man. It's something that it's weird. Like I said, when you're not in the right, the person that made that probably those comments either never owned a foldable, never had a phone that is, like never had the flip, never had the fold, never had any generation of any other phone, and they're comparing it based on maybe what their current version is. The flip has the same thickness. It's actually, even though it's smaller, it's the same thickness as the fold. You're getting a thick. You're gonna have to get used to that if you want something that bends and gives you a smaller form factor. This is heavy. This is by no means a light device. It's actually quite a bit heavier than I thought it was going to be, because I thought, it's smaller and it should be more petite. No, not happening. But between the flip and the fold, this wedges right in between, and it's the right size for me. I feel like the fold is once you get this in your hand, you're like, okay, I think this is a much better form factor. Because now if I want a bigger phone or bigger display, I open it up. I do have that. But most of the time, this is going to sit like in this format in my pocket. I open it up. I can do things. It's wide enough. It's an 18:9 aspect ratio, not a 16:9. So it's closer to the normal form factor that we usually use. And it just, right now, with the exception of the case, it's a little bit slippery because the material is slip and slide department. And it has a screen protector, but I'll drop you the link for that one.
For
glass protectors I always like glass protectors always over plastic, mostly because I've lost so many glass protectors and not displays for many years. What's it called? The OnePlus 7T. My sister-in-law has. She dropped it with the glass protector on and took the glass protector off. Everything was fine. Put a new one on, and you keep going. So, if you're prone to dropping, get glass.
So I do want to tackle this question from Sebastian Lobos. Why would you want the Velvet? It has a giant bezel separating the two displays. The Fold only has a single display and a crease. So this is where we need to keep in mind all tech products have different pros and cons.
Absolutely.
So if the main thing that you're looking for is one big contiguous surface, then yes, a folding phone is like the Fold 3 is going to be the right fit for you. But I would ask, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with a big square-ish tablet form factor? Because I mean, we were kind of joking around, but like I'm pulling this up, so you see way less on this big screen if you're using it as one uninterrupted canvas. So what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Because if it's looking at one app, you get substantially less information. It's just bigger. So then you want to say, well, I also want to be able to do some multitasking. Okay, well, the process of multitasking on a flip is always an extra step. You can do app pairs if you know that they're going to be two apps side by side. But in my life, it's constantly like, I want to fire up Discord, then I want to drop back and hit my YouTube studio, then I want to pull up Twitter, then I also want to get into my camera, then I want to come back. I'm not married to only two apps that I ever use side by side. I'm constantly moving those back and forth.
Yep.
So when you go to dual display, it does that better for it actually being like having two phones side by side where you're not constantly having to like reframe or do other split screeny things. And this also gives you the ability to run 3 apps at a time if you want to split screen on the phone and go to a third app on the side, just like you can kind of triple split screen on the Fold. It's just way easier. So if the argument is multitasking, 2 discrete screens is not as sexy, but it, to me, it has proven to be time and time again more practical. It's more accessible. It's more immediate to get right into whatever 2 apps you want to use side by side. And then I keep coming back to this, and I don't know, TK, if what your thoughts are on this, but when I have this one unbroken surface on the Fold, I'm not gonna draw on this because anything that crosses the center line, I can feel that.
The ridge, the ridges on the Fold are still
in my drawing.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, especially if you're trying to draw like with your pen, because it does have the pen support. It does go like the bubble, like a little bit.
You kind of you can't really draw through it. So then, if we're gonna do side by side, we're gonna do 2 apps side by side. If there are 2 discrete screens, this is actually a little bit better on the Duo than it is on the Velvet because the bezel space is a little bit smaller. But this crease line is like always having a curved display light refraction point. Yeah, have you ever been in a car and you mount your phone? I mount my phone in landscape whenever I do turn by turn. And if I have a curved display, there are always these strips of refracted light that kind of cut off the notification icons at the top of my screen because of the way that light bounces off of that curve. Now I've got that running right through the middle of my screen if I use the Fold in the orientation that I want to. So I know a lot of people can say like, oh, I don't even see the crease anymore. But I've got this dimple refraction, which is also not straight. Because it's bent plastic, it's not consistent. Like there's a little bit of a warp as you go through because this is sort of like a floating panel on a screen. I can't not see that. It's like hard. I'm always looking at the curve of a curved display right through the middle of my app, reflecting and refracting light in really obnoxious ways. So it makes me want to use it straight up and down, but then I've got the skinniest slivers of app orientation that doesn't really help for the layout of how most Android apps format for. There are issues here. But if I go to a Velvet, I've got 2 normal phone screens. They're just 2 normal phone screens. No, exactly. I don't have to worry about whether or not I've got the right formatting or if I'm multitasking the right way or if I'm splitting them all up. So this is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy when we assume or we just pretend that like, well, Samsung's the preferred choice, so Samsung must be the right way to do this because they haven't fixed these issues. They haven't solved any of these problems.
No.
And then they've done some other obnoxious things, like the webcam, the selfie camera on the inside of the display is even more distracting for it being such
because
a
it's
low
not
res.
hidden. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not hidden.
It stands out more than if you just did a whole bunch.
If I can show this to you real quick here. So you could see the crease, right? You could kind of see where the crease is showing up right there. This is actually, like, once I take this a little bit at a different angle, you can kind of see it. Actually, it's almost like, it's hard to tell on camera, but it actually is less pronounced than what we have on the Fold. It's still there, but it's flatter. Next time when I see you, when we do the exchange.
So someone in the chat's gonna have to tell them if TK is frozen or
the moment I say something
frozen.
weird about Samsung
you just got axed. Samsung's not gonna have it. None of this.
No, Samsung's apparently supporting our connection. Long story short, I'll show you when we meet in person. That's what I meant to say. I'll show you what the improvements that the fines are doing. But Samsung, I don't, and we're frozen again. This is just not going to be a good podcast. We're going to be frozen all night long. Are we back? Are you there?
I,
Nope.
so
Nope.
I,
We're still
I
there.
I can still see you.
All right. Are you there?
So I think this might be TK's connection because I can still see
I
you,
think
buddy.
I okay. So it has to be. Yeah, of course it's me. It's always me.
I
Am I back?
win.
Nope. Okay. This is just. And I'm going to jump on my Wi-Fi from my phone, and we're just going to do it live. So if I drop out for a second, I'll be
Hey,
right
there you
back.
go.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
So I can
Are-
catch you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're
It's-
back. Okay, good. I was like, dude, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it's great.
That's how we do it, man. No, it's been like
So-
this though
so-
all day.
Yeah, I mean, again, we kind of preface this before most people had shown up at the top, but we're both on the flakiest of broadband connections right now. So the thing that I'm trying to drive home isn't that one phone is garbage, and I'm so sick of this stupid YouTuber mentality that one phone gets to be the winner and everything else is trash. There are substantial issues that I think Samsung needs to address on the Fold, and the current implementation of their folding phone design is not
And I'm
the
frozen
right
again.
way to go.
This is
So
just-
the issue that I'm trying to drive at is if we can't learn a little from a Fold, a little from an OPPO, a little from a Duo, and bring some of those really fun lower cost innovations from LG's, then we're stuck. We're stuck in a garbage landscape of anti-consumer, anti-competition product design, where one company is going to make something and everyone's going to copy that company, and then we're sort of just accepting the issues with these products. So people going out there and getting, because I'm seeing some people getting real defensive about this notion that I'm not liking the Samsung. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to what it is that I like to do on my products, and you're trying to tell me that this plastic folding screen with the big crease in the middle is the better way to do things when I've already told you I like a certain flavor of multitasking that this phone does not do well. So if we can't acknowledge that there need to be different solutions and different features for different consumers, then we're lost as tech enthusiasts. You might as well just be Samsung enthusiasts, and that's not the channel I'm trying to produce.
No, and I think that's why we need to look at it from from each person's perspective. Where we're coming from is what we use the device for. If the comment that I would think we're seeing in there, YouTube being better on the Z Fold 3, absolutely, it's a bigger screen, it works, but it doesn't fill up the display. It's not for.
But again, I mean, like
freeze.
the issue is saying it's better. I can't say that it's better. Let me pull up YouTube right now because I would much rather have, I think, a single phone screen experience than what's going on here. And if I split it, then it's going to be just another. I mean, this is
It'll
terrible.
be a small window.
This is not better. All right. So first of all, discovery is pants. This is terrible discovery. So when you get an ad, it takes up all of this space. So that's an ad.
Because it's not opening. Yeah, it's not opening the tablet version of YouTube. It's opening up the mobile version for the smartphone.
So
Exactly.
then I can totally appreciate though. When I go into actually watching the video and I'm watching an ad on one of my videos, this is not better. This is the same video viewing space as if I had a regular phone. I mean, like this isn't. That's not superior. So then I turn it sideways. And I've got the crease running where I can't unsee that bendy screen curve in the display right at the bottom of the video. So sure, I can now have a slightly more web browser based version of this, but my video window shrunk significantly. I've got a side panel of not very useful information on how YouTube would normally offer you other videos to watch, and then all of this information under the video is just sort of squished and condensed. So again, when I say that we're looking at a very square-ish tablet form factor, there's a reason why Android tablets have not succeeded in the market. We need software that's going to take better advantage of more screen real estate and give us those options to format and to fill space the way we really need to. And Samsung can't do that all on their own. But if
Yep.
Samsung doesn't learn a little from Microsoft, and Microsoft can't school Google a little bit, and we can't all get behind Android 12L, then we might as well give up and say iPads are the only options worth buying. And that's not a game that I want to play. I want to play a healthier competition game. And that's not
we
what we're
need
going to
more
get
functions.
if we overlook all of the issues on this Fold 3.
It is the landscape is needing a little bit more cross-platform, cross-competitor communication. You're right, and I think it's one of those things that we rarely see. Samsung and Google are working together. There's rumors of a Pixel foldable coming up at some point. But I do want to say one thing. I know we kind of like took the conversation, we kind of shifted it very much away from what we were originally trying to do. The challenge was trying to see how do we, as again, you put your money where you found the solution to be more functional for you. You went with the Duo. I went with the Fold because again, I'm used to using the Fold. It's a form factor that I'm comfortable using, and it was the only solution I had up till today or up till a few days ago. Because for me, I couldn't live with a Z Flip, and that was just too small of a foldable or a flip phone. Although I do appreciate what Samsung's trying to do there and bringing the price point lower, I think we need TCL to jump back into the game with this. And with what they tried to do in 2021, I want them to come back with another foldable. I mean, last year's CES, man, they teased us with so much foldable, rollable, scrollable. I'm inserting.
Well, the reason why I'd be excited for TCL is because I think it would be a streamlined version. I don't think it would be as feature complete as a Duo or a Z Fold 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But what I think would be exciting is that they would bring a Fold style form factor with a mid-ranger chipset just to come in at a lower cost. I think that's what
we
TCL
need more of that.
could do really well.
We need to see a Fold FE. We need to see a Flip FE and a TCL foldable because we're at that point. This again. I realize it may not be the design may not be finalized and everything, but the fact is this: Samsung's trying to bring down the price. They're trying to appeal to more users to be able to buy foldables. And the Flip, I think this year is a very good example of that. But TCL could absolutely be the right player. LG would have been also the right player if they were still in the game to bring that conversation to more affordable space. Put a 7 Series chipset into that and sell it for a much more affordable price. Because I think the mechanism is, for the most part now, I think we found the right mechanism. It works. We know it doesn't break in 6 months in. The Fold 3 held up its own. The Fold 2, most of the issues that we've ever seen were never with the hinge. It was always with the display tech.
Yeah.
So the hinges, in which what causes the phone to be most expensive, has already been done. We already have that design set. So it should not be this massive, and again, TCL already put one out. I think Michael Fisher put out a video on that one, and it was basically just saying that the phone that never was made, the canceled phone or something to that effect. But we need to see more of that. So I'm hoping to see that type of information from them at CES next week. And I can't believe that it's next week. Any Flip, I shall name it Felipe. Yes, Felipe de Flippy. Flippy Felipe.
Flippy Felipe, I like that.
Yeah,
It's like an ABBA song, but not as good as a real ABBA song.
I'm loving the comments from Aditya though. TK is making the Frozen sequel that Disney never knew they needed to make. Seriously. It's a weird episode for me, and the last one was funny. TK is still in last week's stream. Yeah, I know it.
When we had that real good LTE connection out in the middle of Lake Balboa.
Edge at some point. I think we dipped to Edge at some point. By the way, we had so many
bad.
weird experiences, and then of course weather interference and all that good, and all of the things that could have gone wrong were there, and we were frozen. Literally frozen last week.
So I just feel like there's a larger conversation that I think techies need to kind of sit down with on what is it that you're trying to accomplish. So if we're talking about Android and tablets, man, Android as a tablet OS has been way off the pulse for years. The most exciting innovation in Android tablets has been the Galaxy tabs, where you don't have to use Android, you can use DeX. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not good territory to be in. And so for some of this stuff, I think, it's not all on Samsung to fix. We need Android 12L to get in there and shake
Yeah.
some things up. And a lot of that innovation is going to be coming from Microsoft and how they're doing gestures and moving things between panels. LG actually had really good gestures for flipping apps back and forth and for managing your two separate displays. But this hardware is going to fundamentally change over the next 2 generations. If Samsung continues to hold on to just this in light of what Google might be doing with the Pixel Foldable, what OPPO just finished off with this, and what TCL has been crazy experimenting with bifold and trifold and all of these dragon hinges and things like that.
I know. We've seen so many
It's
teasers.
it's like, to me, I would not get married to a Fold 3 right now thinking that this is this is the correct, the only correct option for making a foldable phone. And that's what I think is troubling, because right now we're acting like just because it's one of the better options that the game is over. And the game has barely started. And that is a fundamental flaw in our sort of popularity thinking. Samsung's going to sell the most folding phones, so it must be the best thing to do. And you're like,
That's what Samsung would like you to believe. They want to get that title of selling most foldables, but in reality, it's the Z Flip, not the Z Fold. But yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a
the
very
Z Flip is going to grossly outsell the Z Fold.
And I don't. I think that by design, I don't think Samsung is really focusing. Like a lot of their commercials, like a lot of the ads that we see, not one is for the Fold; it's for the Flip. I haven't seen
that's
much
just
for
it. Is like it's a tough spot to be in, because in terms of productivity, anyone who's seriously considering Z Fold, I would ask, have you tried using DeX on some type of dock? Because while this is certainly more pocketable, you might prefer getting a Galaxy S21 or an S21 Ultra and getting a laptop dock and
like the next
saving
dock or something,
$300 or $400 and using that as your main. I'm having a hard time saying this is the bestest foldable and it's so good at what it does that I wouldn't rather get an S21 Ultra and a laptop dock.
I think that's a much better option, because just for reference,
Better cameras?
We can't run DeX on the Z Fold 3 natively. It has to be used externally. See, it's not something like, again, if Samsung wanted us to get that tablet experience, why not give us DeX as the UI for when you open it up? When you use it as like a laptop experience, run multiple. Let us run floating windows and snap windows from one side to the other. Those you have to connect to a dock. So in that aspect, I feel like, yeah, an S21 Ultra would have been a better solution with obviously like a next dock or something like that would give you the functionality of a tablet, a much bigger canvas. You get the touch interface and you get DeX, and you still have the access to your full display on your phone. But it's a solution. We have to kind of look at it there. And PSA 2 Fighters, Madison Square Garden.
Oh, here, I'll pull it up. So Gary the fireman is letting us know that the Madison Square Garden concert from the Foo Fighters is on the Foo Fighters YouTube channel, which sounds like it's pretty rad. So
that would be, yeah. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody. We'll be seeing you next. No, just kidding.
We got to go watch this thing. So
we got it. Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the other two phones that we kind of talked about. The Flip, the Fold and the Duo were the main. I would say called
before we leave folding phones. It's hilarious. Like I predicted, I finally got the Duo in your hands, and the case that I had on order for weeks before showed up the following Monday.
Yeah.
So there's a Duo 2 case. I can finally get it to you. It's just the way it had to happen. So we need to get together before we trade phones back, just so you can feel what a Duo
just
case
so we can
might feel like.
Is this the official Duo case for Microsoft, or is it a?
No. So I feel like the Microsoft accessories are kind of stupid overpriced, and they haven't really lived up to my expectations. Like the new pen is good. I hate how it charges if you don't already have some kind of Surface to charge it with. The Surface charging case is just another cheap bumper. It's really not well done. So this is a third-party case that finally came out on Amazon, and it's a fun green color. So it's a more festive case than anything that Microsoft is currently selling. And then I also still might be getting
Am I
that
back? Yep,
OtterBox case. So we'll have to see if the
nope,
OtterBox
I'm frozen
case
again. Dang it.
comes back in. So the thing that's really tricky to untangle is as he's saying he's frozen, I don't know if I've
Am I
been
back?
hearing at all. So you keep saying you're frozen and we can hear you, or at least I can
Oh,
hear you.
oh, okay. So you guys could
So
hear
like
me. Okay, thank
every
God I
time
didn't
every
start cussing.
time you sort of freeze on your side, I think your feed is still active for longer
Good.
than you think
Well,
it
at
is.
least I mean we're not. I mean, it wouldn't drop me anyways because we're both on the channel. But I'm okay now, right? A little bit. No.
Yeah, no, and your video is phenomenally clearer now.
Hey man, upgrade from 480 to 720.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Although
is,
I
I'm not gonna move.
we did kind of jinx ourselves saying like we're not 180p yet.
Yeah,
So
I
we did
actually
fall
ran
apart there.
180p for a while. Oh my God. Okay. It's yeah. Sorry.
This is gonna be the best audio version of this
And
podcast.
then
It's
I'm
awesome.
back now because that's how we do it. It it's just lost. Oh my God. Okay. I don't know. It has to be the weather. It has to be all that moisture in the air. I don't know what it's doing.
Fair. I mean, do you want to try? Do you want to try and like fire up a phone and see if you can run it that way?
I tried. Actually, the reason why I was down to 180 was because I was on 5G with T-Mobile in my area. That's why I jumped back on the Wi-Fi. It's just not happening. Wherever I am right now, it's been raining all day since yesterday, and for some reason, I'm having weird interferences, and internet's been borked. Like I said, I couldn't play Call of Duty, and I know it's more affecting me per se, but I kept losing connection to the server. Like I would connect, I do a speed test,
Hmm.
and I'm like downloading at 400 or whatever, uploading at 30, but I can't
Sure.
keep a constant connection. That's not good. So with that being said, I'm just going to try not to move. So even if I freeze, you have no idea what's going on.
Someone in TK's neighborhood is streaming The Matrix in 4K.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. And actually, I separated my internet from the house because of these issues. Remember when
Yeah.
like a while back, I did that
Oh, good
purposely.
times.
Hey man, Oscar's in there. I hope you're doing well, man. So yeah, like I said, I think foldables are we're gonna have obviously more conversations on that. The S21 Ultra and the S20 whatever the CES is going to be next week is going to be very
Hmm.
much an interesting approach. Almost every company that I thought I was going to go see has canceled,
Yeah.
with the exception of TCL, which I think TCL is still holding on. They're going to have their event, and John Deere, which you're gonna. I don't know. I got invited to go check out John Deere's booth, so I don't know. We'll see how that kind of goes next week.
Okay.
We're still going, very cautious, very anxious, but at this point, it may end up being a trip to Vegas to just be in a hotel room for some time, and being
Well,
very
but you
very
were
cautious.
also planning to kind of take that and bundle it with some family time.
It is, and
So,
I think that's the biggest part of it is Omar's last week before he goes to school on the 10th, and then we already have the time off from
mhm.
day job and stuff like that. So regardless, if I wasn't going to go, I was going to be home anyways, or we would have had to figure out something else.
Mhm.
So there is a few things still going on. PepCon showstoppers are still happening.
Yeah.
TCL is still going to be there, and I think that's going to be kind of like most of my what I'm going to be covering. I'm going to try my best not to be on the show floor as much as possible, but I do want to go in there and see how the mood is. Like it's weird. Like I want to see what a CES, like a low participation in person CES looks like. Like more of a curiosity, but I'll be like masked and gloves and sanitizer all over the place and like stay away, 6 feet away, man, 6 feet. No,
You're just walking around with like a yardstick, like a lightsaber, got like a thumbtack on the end of it. And
or
you
like,
just stay over
I was
there.
gonna say, or an umbrella with a tennis ball at the end. It's like stay
Did,
away
did
from
I
the.
tell you about the house that we were trick or treating where they had like a display case?
Uh huh.
So it was a long walkway up to the front door, and they had a display case, and in the display case, it was like it was full sized candy bars,
Hmm.
and so they're
Those are the best
yelling,
houses, by the way.
just
Yeah.
just pick one of those, and so my daughter runs up and she picks some peanut M&Ms, and they put peanut M&Ms in I don't know what they're called lacrosse. What are
Oh,
those lacrosse like
oh
sticks
man, you
with the
got me.
nets on them?
I don't know which. Okay,
And so then they put the M&Ms in the lacrosse thing, and they
and
held
they.
it as far as
Oh
possible
my
so my
God, I would
daughter could
have.
grab it out of the lacrosse. And they're like, that's how I feel if I were gonna go to CES. That's how I would need to treat. Here's my business card, and I pull out like robot grips, like those old robot toys,
It's gonna
and I
be
like
that
hand
way.
it
Like
way
I
over
don't
to
know. I
them.
don't know how. Like typically, showstoppers and Pepcom are their own little like big like conference rooms or big like
Yeah, it's a
halls
show
in
within a
the.
show.
It's
It's
a
a
show within a
full show
show.
within a
It,
show.
it is absolutely, but they are typically also very packed. They're never I mean, they're. I feel like it's a little bit more dense than regular ones. Plus, you have areas where you sit down, you want to be able to do some work, and there's other areas to eat. I don't know how all of that dynamic is going to be. And I sent out an email, but I still haven't seen any response back. Are they going to allow people to be maskless inside, or is it you still wear a mask in there? Because I think by requirement you're supposed to, but I don't know why they're doing you need to you need to show your vaccination proof and all that good stuff, or negative PCR or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I'm anxious, but we're still going, and we'll be reporting. We'll have our conversation next week. From there, it'll be one of those.
Well, hopefully there won't be enough people there that it'll tank the 5Gs, so you can like stream and
I'm
stuff. So
Well, yeah, from the hotel, I'm hoping it should be okay. But you're right. From the actual show floor, I'll try to put some reels and some shorts in there if I see anything interesting. I think that's going to be my primary coverage. It'll be basically small, easy to consume pieces of news, because I don't feel like it's like we can still do the recap type of video, but I feel like that experience is probably maybe a week or so after. For me, for next week, obviously I want to see what TCL has to do, and I'm hoping that Showstoppers and Pepcom kind of gives us some nice ones. Techfluence, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They were going to have one as well, but they canceled that one, so that was unfortunately due to
yeah.
attendance. But okay,
Yeah,
it's
and we
6K
got
on
we
that
got
place.
Scoop and we got the Hawks and everybody saying hey in the chat. But to kind of reiterate what Jeff was saying, just stay safe, keep your head down, don't take any silly risks, and get back to LA all safe and stuff. So
I don't know if you saw our numbers. We crossed 20 in LA tonight, or today. So our numbers are not better, and Vegas is about to get literally mobbed with so many more people coming in from other places. So yeah,
yeah.
very much, very careful, very distant. And like I said, unless I have to, I don't want to be there. I won't be there. But again, it'll be just time with the family and maybe try to see if we can hit up some spaces. I want to actually see if it's not bad enough. I want to see those rocks. Like those rock
Yeah.
constellations that you get right before you get into Vegas. I want to drive up to that. I think that'll be good
They're
to
fun.
test out the Vivo. Play
It
with
was
that.
it was still, oh dude, desert photography, especially when you're road tripping like that. The Vivo is real good times. It reminds me of like way back in the day with Mark Wim. It was for one of the old Nokia press junkets where they flew us out to Vegas, and then we didn't spend any time on the strip. We found this old like resort. It was the resort was new, but it was built on an old mining facility. So they would do these like horseback riding or ATV riding excursions, and then we went
Nice.
down into the mine and like, hey, we were gonna test out the camera, and it had like a xenon flash. It was the N8. It was back when the N8 was brand new, and it was still like one of my all-time favorite trips. We went zip lining. I mean, they just like all the things, like, hey, look at the amazing LTE speeds on this new Nokia phone, and you're like, this is awesome. This is hilarious. But it's like finding those kinds of opportunities where if you can, maybe look up like a day resort or a spa off strip,
I'll have to.
and go
Yeah.
and spend a day a little further out, like in the wilderness of the desert at night, and you're not on the strip, so there's like no light pollution and the stars are just like crazy. I mean, that kind of
Perfectly
stuff
clear.
is
Yeah, yeah.
is phenomenal.
Well, and it'll also be nice. I'm also taking the Tesla, so it'll be interesting keeping it charged and everything. Like driving it. I did the San Francisco trip. That was a learning experience, but Vegas would be interesting because technically I have enough range. Like mine does 350, and it's a 270-mile drive from where I am. So in theory, I should be able to make it on a full charge, but we'll see. We'll see.
But also, I mean, like for as fun as that drive is, it's kind of nice halfway through just to stop, stretch your legs, kind of peek
Oh,
around.
absolutely. I love Barstow,
It's good
especially with that
times.
in and out right in the middle point when you're trying to go from here to Vegas.
Barstow is the jam. I love that one exit just as you've gotten past all of the outlet malls.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like every restaurant, the entire economy of Barstow is built on that
One exit.
that one
It's
exit.
crazy. It's
I
great. And it's
love
just
it.
perfect. It's yeah. So for us, because we don't take the 210, we don't actually go in that direction at all. We just take straight up, take the Pure Blossom Highway, and then get the 15 straight up to Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's all on the behind the San Bernardino Mountains. We never
Oh,
cross.
dude,
the
that's
other
how
way.
we came back when we were doing our crazy one-day trip. Our one-day drive from Albuquerque to home is like 14 hours, and getting to the end of it, I was like, "There's no way I'm doing the 210."
Oh, no,
It's super late at night. It's dark out. I'm gonna take Parablossom. I'm just gonna ride those side roads at 50 miles an hour on those big old bumpy hills, just so that I'll stay awake all the way back out.
I've done
It was
that.
awesome.
I've done that in.
I
There was
love
one
desert
time for
driving.
CES. I did a day trip because I've done a long time ago before my wife and my son used to come with me. TES for me was mostly day trips. I would just do one day, get there, do my thing, and or maybe if it's a couple of nights, I'll just stay in a hotel like somewhere off the strip. But I would like fly. I would drive in really really early before the 7 a.m. Like the start, the what's it called, the pre CES shows start, and
Yeah.
I drive like at 1 a.m. in the morning just to get there at 5. And I've gone through that. Yeah, that those keep you up. Those bumps, they definitely keep you alert,
They're
especially
fun.
when it's really really dark. And I did that when I think was in a Prius, our old Prius before. But I'm looking forward to seeing how I mean, the Tesla should be perfectly fine. I love driving and taking trips with it for some reason. For such a tiny car, it holds and it does a lot of fun things. So it'll be good. So one thing I wanted to double. So you're publishing your video tomorrow on LG. So that'll be your last video for 2021.
Yep.
You're gonna crown it. I didn't get a chance to catch the results. Have the phone of the year awards kind
Oh,
of end?
no,
So I
no,
don't
no.
know
We're
if you
still
wanted
going.
to.
Hold on. Let me
Yeah,
let
yeah,
me
yeah.
let me pull those up. So I had the bracket and I closed out. There we go. So on reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles.
I am so sorry about that, Jeff. I am so sorry, man. Jeff's calling me out on some. Oh man, I typically when I've so the big difference between what I've done in the past and
Oh,
this.
Jeff, a fruit basket. How dare you?
No, so in the past, I've always done Pepcom and Showstoppers for XDA. It was always big for them. So seriously like with chicken with its head cut off. I mean, I'm literally running back and forth, and I'm always late to everything. So I typically end up being like very late. Like I know and I do apologize. So it's one of those things. I'm hoping this year will be a lot slower and a lot calmer. So for anybody that's going to be there, it'll be totally fun there. But here, phone elimination
So,
challenge. Did you
phone
want to share your
elimination
screen or?
challenge, day 22. Yeah, I can share my screen. Hold on, let me
I was gonna say
pull
if
this
you
up
want, I
here.
can do it. I would not say it's better you. My internet, it'll probably just tank if I share a
Yeah,
screen.
don't touch anything. So right now we've got Asus, Google, OnePlus, OPPO, Sony, Vivo, and Xiaomi. The big surprise, Poco and Realme canceled each other out. It was a tied bracket yesterday. If I had been a
Oh,
betting man, I would have put solid money on Poco going to at least the final four. And so now we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies out of a total bracket of 36. The vote's getting crazy. Yeah, I mean it's really anyone's game at this point. We usually get a few votes in the middle of the night, our time when I'm asleep, right before kind of the voting closes, and that usually determines who's getting kicked off the island next.
I like it. Well, I mean, I like the companies that you have left in there. I mean,
Yeah,
they're pretty
it's a
really good.
good
I
it's a
like
good batch.
Sony's in there, Oppo's in there. You got me there. I'm good.
So here, let me see if I can pull up now because I've got to get back into the. Actually, Asus is leading by a vote. So Asus is looking like if this trend continues, then Asus is, you know,
I,
is gone. So
the ROG Phone 5 has
and
been
the Zen phones were
surprisingly.
good.
The Zenfone 8 actually
Yeah.
has been really pretty good, has been received very well. I haven't had a chance to play with Asus devices other than the ROG Phone 5, because that one was sent to me by Michelle when he was with XDA. So he had the Ultimate or the Pro, and then they sent him the standard one. He's like, "Hey, I have an extra. Would you mind?" And I'm like, "No, I will not say no, especially not to an ROG with a quad DAC, man. I'm not going to say no."
Yeah, so apparently it's Aditya's fault that Asus is a vote ahead because he voted for Asus. So if they get voted off the island, then it's gonna be his fault.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So that one has a couple more days to go. I have one more video to shoot. I mean, to produce for tomorrow, not produce, to post tomorrow, and that's going to be the Find N. So that's how I'm going to cap my the end of the year. I'm going to end it with an OPPO, and weird enough, I started the year with an OPPO.
Hey, that's
So
a good combo.
my phone of 2020, my favorite phone of 2020 was the Find X2 Pro, and that was my daily driver at the end of the year. And I'm ending the year now with an OPPO. And I was kind of, like I said, I'm surprised that it runs in the US. I thought it was going to be one of those, like the with like the Vivo. Like I'm not getting really good reception on that one. I tried putting in my SIM card, like no, not happening.
Yeah, I mean, and again on T-Mobile, I got sort of inconsistently passable LTE.
Oh,
But the band support did not.
I
did not
think I
keep
have
up
very
with driving
bad
around town.
band support in my area because AT&T would get me like H, it'll say H plus, but I don't. My LTE, my AT&T SIM card has it needs to be in my work phone, so I can't really put that in there all the time. So from a T-Mobile standpoint, yeah. So either way, I'm enjoying the camera experience. More so, I'm not reviewing this one for the phone calls and the battery life. This is for me. It's more about productivity and cameras. So this is camera and this is productivity. And you gave me two phones that if married together would make a perfect combo. But definitely one of those. See if Sam. Oh man, it'll be interesting. I think we still have a little bit more time to spend with it. Next week's going to be crazy. Going to be remote. Everything is going to be remote. And we'll see how the show flow. Did you make a decision? Did you guys decide if you're going to do a day trip or not?
Yeah, it's looking like we're gonna stay.
Okay.
We didn't have anything booked, so also just like kind of coming to the week before and trying to put budget aside for making the run. Increasingly, my work is gonna be better tackled out here, and even just taking like a day or a 2 day to go run out there, spend the night, come back was really going to kind of interrupt too much for us to be able to pay bills and stuff. And just with everything that's going on, and it sucks because like we keep hitting these milestones like getting vaxxed or getting boosters. Lex is fully vaxxed, but then also it just seems like not the right time for us to kind of put ourselves out there on a road trip like that. Like it made sense when we were going to visit family, and we were reasonably confident in all of our family sort of doing what they said that they were going to do. And then we didn't really go do anything while visiting family. It was all just spending time together. And then we got back in our car and we drove home. We're going to probably end up playing the next couple months pretty conservatively. Like we're planning a day trip out to Santa Barbara so that we can go to a zoo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the
which
zoo
is
there
big
nice.
and open air. Like we were saying, we were saying last week, we want to go and hit the Santa Barbara Zoo. But that's easy to navigate because you always have space. You don't have to be right on top of people. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's a bummer because like, I didn't get to do the last CES and I didn't do the CES before it. So now I'm like
you're
3.
you're
3 out of date.
Well, I think this one is definitely one of those you probably don't. Maybe, yeah. I think my biggest worry right now is this. Typically, what I do at CES is run from one place to another, but I typically don't drive from every place. I typically Uber or I take shuttles or whatever. But as you remember, CES place, everything is in like a remote location from each other. They're not walking distance. They're like hotels and streets and down that thing. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to navigate going from one place to another. In the same way, because I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable jumping into an Uber every single time I want to do it, or if I want to just, buckle up and just walk it, depending on how the weather is. I've done a lot of walks. I've been like in the past, I leave the main conference hall and I walk all the way up to the Wynn. So that used to be at the end of the day, it's a good 30 to 45 walk. But I get my steps, man. I mean, I eat bad anyways. So for me, it's if I can clock in 20,000 in a day, I'm good. And that's, I think, my goal for the few days that I'm there. But you know
Yeah,
what?
while you're out at CES, I definitely need to get back on my diet and on my fitness regimen.
I
I
need
need
to get
to
back on that as well.
at least try and match some of my friends' steps, even though I'm not walking around Vegas.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Well, we still have the the Mavoy the treadmills. Those are still pretty nice. I still have mine. It looks. I need to crack it up. I mean, open it up. Haven't been on it for a while, but it'll be interesting. We'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully, I'm hoping we come back healthy and nobody catches anything. But luckily enough, I think like you said, we're up to our numbers. We're boosted and we're ready. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just miss our days of you and I hanging out, especially at Caesars, running up and down by the computer sections and stuff. So those days are fun.
Yeah, I miss all those crazy PC builds. The component manufacturers were awesome, but I'm really not trying to yuck anyone's yum or to be doom and gloom, but man, like Asus just put out an advisory on their Z690 boards. We're hearing about more component constraints for getting Broadcom radios shipped out to different devices. The whole industry right now is in such a strange holding pattern, and it's a CES that we would normally turn to kind of show us the path. It kickstarts the conversation. It kind of gets us in gear. We start looking at what the new trends in tech are going to be. It's where we find those fun, funky little companies that are doing the wacky, crazy experimental stuff down in the basement of the Venetian.
Yeah.
Not having that makes me feel like 2022 is going to get started off on another pump the brakes, wait and see kind of vibe.
It just keeps,
and I'm hoping to find that tipping point where we can really just start pushing. This is going to be a trend for wearables. This is finally going to bring in heads-up displays. This is going to bring better hearables, noise-canceling technologies. This is going to be the way that we augment our phones. And these are the competition points that we're going to see from all of these other manufacturers instead of letting YouTube dictate that we're only allowed to talk about Sam Apple. It seems like everyone's being so conservative right now that it's kind of sucking all of the energy. It's sucking all of the excitement out of what some of this might look like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you have all these cancellations and a lot of companies going virtual. So a lot of the announcements and everything is going to go up. I mean, I can watch it from the hotel room. I don't even have to be on the show floor for it, or even be in a conference. So it's going to be one of those interesting. It's a transition point. I'll say this, and if I had not already made commitments, and like I said, we have the time and everything, it's just too late for me to try to figure out going anywhere else without paying way more than what I've already paid for what it was going to be for us to go. So we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, things are okay. And I will say, before I forget, due to that part, it unfortunately is the Saturday's podcast on the Android Bay is going to be postponed, unfortunately, because I'll be on the road. So it's going to be a little bit hard for me because we're leaving on Saturday to catch what's it called? The pre-CES. I think I forgot the name of that. They have an event that goes on right before, and I want to give it enough time for registration to go pick a badge and all that. I don't want to go there when there's 1,000 people all lined up. So,
for sure.
So we'll be back hopefully next Saturday as from Vegas, because then I'll have way more to talk about, I think, as well. But yeah, for me, one more video tomorrow. I think for you, LG is going to be really good. The challenge
because
is going.
I mean, we can all agree that the Velvet style of dual display was far superior to anything that's ever come out with any kind of folding phone.
I think I'm still more of a favor of the V60, but I'm with you on the Velvet. I think the Velvet is definitely.
Well, I mean, again,
the Mighty Mouse, in that same genre. I think
Yeah.
the flexibility of having dual display or not having dual display has been the big factor here that I think a lot of people don't cover. Is if you just don't want it, you want to rock a standard 18 or 16 by 9 or whatever, you can just take the phone out and it works perfectly.
You just want a normal phone screen that can then just add a second phone screen. You're not married to one kind.
There is that flexibility that I think we don't realize. To your point though, where some people were barking on the thickness of the Velvet and the V60, the Z Fold is in the same same game, and the only one that doesn't
before a case.
The only one that doesn't is still the Duo 2. that
Duo.
now it did add a camera bump, but on the other end though, they still kept the thinness. The build quality is still very, very much a big thing.
Have
And
you tried
definitely need.
like? I mean, were you ever into like Dead Cells or little platformers like that?
Well, you
I've
got
been
me
going
running on
through a
Dead
whole
Cell.
ton of games,
So I
so
played Dead Cells, yeah, definitely. I haven't played Dead Cells on this one, not yet. I
so
haven't loaded up
it's
all my
such a
games on.
trip. You kind of have to do the camera bulge as your top display.
Hmm.
But I got into such a bad habit of making runs on Dead Cells while watching documentaries on the other screen, especially now that the update has fixed LDAC. So you can listen on really nice headphones with decently low latency, and you're kind of putting all those things together. It's genuinely one of the best multitasking experiences, and when you're holding it, it is
Hopefully you're still talking, Juan, because
it
I think
weighs
I froze
less
massively at this point.
than like
Am I back?
many. I mean, it's like less burdensome than holding a Mi 11 Ultra. So you can be jamming on Dead Cells. A whole second display is up, and it's phenomenally light at getting all that stuff done. So I would
I'll
highly
have to
recommend digging in on that.
Netflix on one, game on the other. That's how we do it, business and game. You have no idea how many conference calls, and I'll never admit to this outside of this conference, this room, how many meetings I've been when I'm playing Call of Duty and listening to the meeting. So I totally understand. We can totally listen to a conference and be enjoying our time. I'm hoping my internet does come back at some point when I come back, and we'll have to live through it. But I
Sure.
luckily already uploaded my video, and that went through, so we'll be good. Okay, I'm not freezing. I don't know, because for my perspective, whenever I see, like, whenever the dark the circle the loading screen comes up on Quan, I don't know if that means I'm frozen or does it mean he's frozen. So I don't know how to kind of like kind of keep it from there.
So they
Because
were saying again. I mean, like even Michael is saying LG is chunky, but like even the V60 case is like ever so slightly. It's like a fraction of a millimeter thinner than the Fold 3. Like this is
even the big
broad
one,
because you
the
have
old
a
one.
big phone, but in terms of like this depth and this thickness for having sandwich screen elements together, again, it's really not as big as all of those reviewers were making it out to be, while they're also all praising, oh, and they managed to make the Fold 3 even thinner this year. Not thinner than a
No,
V60 case.
especially when you put it in
Definitely
a
not
case.
thinner than a Velvet case.
No. And for the most part,
Like that.
this is definitely, yeah. You found the adapter. You have multiples. You have a T. That's a T adapter right there.
Magnets, they're crazy.
It's always fun. I do want to say also thank you very much for this amazing gift, which, by the way, we'll be
Yeah,
rocking
for sure.
going in there. Very, very nice gift because now what I end up doing is my AI micro now lives in the case that was for this
Yeah.
guy, because this guy now lives in here. So this is for my road kit, AI micro and everything. I need to start packing tomorrow. I hate doing this. I always pack the day of. I'm a very procrastinating packer. But yeah, no, I think on that note, we're almost at that time. We'll have to see how thing next week kind of comes up. What announcements, what new things come up with the chip shortage, and what is the somewhat direction of 2022 going to be with tech. A lot of the announcements are going to be online, so as you guys probably find out about them, we're finding out about them as well. So a lot of the news will be like breaking news. I'm interested to see at some point, maybe next week, we can talk a little bit about I'll talk a little more about the X70, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about your Mi 11 Ultra experience as you go through that.
Yeah, for sure.
I got very excited to see what the Mi 12 or the Xiaomi 12 and the 12 Pro we're going to bring in, but being that they're in China only right now, so obviously we're probably not going to get them for another month or so. A lot of announcements, some rumors. OnePlus maybe launching the OnePlus 10. I think we saw some teasers and stuff like that. We talked about that last Saturday on the show on the Android Bay. And then to kind of close off everything, we did select a winner of the giveaway last week, and Javier did receive his phone, which he surprisingly was in Illinois, I think, somewhere on the East Coast. So he did get his phone, and he enjoys the Realme GT2 Neo. It's a tough name. But definitely a great. I'm very happy that he was able to. He was one of the winner, and it was a very easy, very quick way to ship without having to worry too much. It ended up being in the U.S., but I'm working still on maybe we can do something together here. We can start the new year with it, with maybe some nice giveaways and stuff like that. I know you mentioned that on Monday during your show, so I think it's a great way to find ways to support the community, and I think it's like the way I do my giveaways. I know I sometimes advertise them on Twitter and Instagram, but it's intended for people that watch the show. It's for people that are in the show, the people that come back week after week and hang out with us and talk.
Oh, did we lose TK? Well, I'm gonna pull up just a quick because where did we so Steve was saying like what I'm missing is that you would want to use like more screen to watch a movie, and I'm trying to pull this up right now.
So I have no idea if this is
not doing this very well.
Oh my God, technical difficulties galore. One of us is probably talking. If it is me, Juan said he was going to load something up, and are you back? Am I back?
Yeah, I mean, you're back. We're hearing you this whole time. So here, let me get to good. 14 minutes in. And when I watch this movie, it purposely does it landscape. So I've got that big stinky crease in the middle of my movie, which you can't really unsee. But then I've got the same movie playing on my Velvet, and it's basically, oh, whoops, go back into landscape. I'm trying to hold this up. It's basically the same amount of movie, if not more movie on the Velvet than it is.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit.
So, like, what am I getting? I'm not getting anything. This is the same.
You're getting more bars, man.
I'm getting more letterboxing. The only movie that this is going to be superior for is Zack Snyder's cut.
There's Snyder cut of
Justice League.
Justice League, because that was shot in 4:3, baby.
And old classic television. That's where I win.
Well, that's what we're doing it for, man. We're keeping it real. We're keeping it classic.
It's the same. And I can go with a whole second full phone screen and do something else with it at the same. This is not great.
I think
you'll just get used to it. I just don't even see all of the warped, plastic distortion in my movies anymore. I just look past it. I would complain about, an Apple unibrow notch, but I just totally don't even see ripple warps in the middle of my movies on my Fold.
It's definitely something that I think we need a few more generations to get functional. We've seen better implementations for Motorola on the Razr, but I think it still needs improvement. The technology needs to improve, and we're just not there yet. I thought rollables were going to be the solution to this, but it seems like there's more, there's less trust in them, because both TCL and I think OPPO didn't really want to release them.
It's the motorized moving parts, and I completely understand why. If you make a passive hinge, it's easier to implement, and I think it's easier to safeguard. But again, there have to be other solutions for expanding on this. If it's trifold, or if it's going to asymmetrical, like, maybe we do need to look at a foldable, but you don't have matched body components where you unfold part of the screen, but less of that is, it's more traditional, like what we've got here. We've got to look at some of these other form factors. We've got to look at some of these other solutions, and we've got to bring other ideas to the table. Because again, we're fighting some of the practicality of having more screen real estate with the realities of using a plastic bendy screen, and we're trying to make that sound as cool as possible. And there's some bleeding edge cool tech that's happening here, but we would never suffer some of these compromises on a lesser brand label. Like if this were a Motorola, people would be gnashing their teeth about, oh, and it doesn't do this, and oh, it's just as thick as that, and oh, the battery, and oh, this, and oh, that. And I feel like we can be a bit more consistent in these types of criticisms.
Been that. It's more the consistency in our commentary. You're right. No, I'm with you. We need to be fair to all brands, and when you criticize one thing on one side, it cannot be okay on the other. I think it's like I said, like we're actually like you said, we're still far from where we need to be on the foldable side. It's moving in the right direction, I think, where we are
And
starting to see more affordable solutions. But we can't compromise and say just because one thing is improved slightly that is the best. It isn't. It's one solution amongst
yeah.
others, and you need to be aware of what's available.
And I think this is all going to be sort of radically influenced by whether or not developers embrace Android 12L. Because a
And
lot of
I'm
these issues are also going to be
on the
solved by
developer.
third-party developers taking this stuff more seriously and bringing more iPad-style apps
Yeah,
to
no, no,
to Android as an operating system.
and
So
and I think
it's tough because the tail's wagging the dog, and we don't know if the chicken or the egg is really going to come first. If we get lots of people to buy foldables, but they don't really do anything better than regular phones, then you're going to have a bunch of pissed off customers. But then if you don't have any kind of sales adoption, then developers aren't going to take the category seriously. And we're in a weird holding pattern right now where no one really wants to take the initiative to push into more radical territory, because if you're first, you're usually going to get slammed by all of the tech elites who can't understand like bleeding edge coming from one company but not from another. And
yeah.
and that's where this stuff gets really precious to me, is because we've lost LG. So we've lost a major source of competition for Samsung. We've lost a major antagonist to Samsung. Like LG really kept Samsung on their toes. We're not seeing the brand I really thought who was going to step up this year was TCL, and totally deservedly. I think they played a more conservative game this year than I thought they were going to. So
Absolutely.
where does this pressure come from? Because right now we're seeing Samsung back off features like DeX. The Z Flip doesn't have DeX.
Still,
We're seeing Samsung kind of in a holding pattern on Galaxy S. The S22 doesn't look like it's going to be radically different than the S21.
it,
They're
it,
bringing
it,
back the Note, but they're calling it an S Ultra, which is the
yeah.
stupidest clickbait title headline game just to make noise for Samsung, but it
Well,
doesn't mean you're getting
I actually think
different or better
they're trying to
products.
increase their sales of their S series by
Yeah.
forcing their Note followers to
Yes.
jump on the S. This is
Yes.
absolutely a game because they skipped the Note. So all of the Note people, like where my wife typically would have received,
And
like
folding
I
phones
typically,
did not make up the difference in Note sales.
yeah, no, I
So
think that
now
that's what
you're
it is.
playing a dumb game. What Samsung was hoping was that the S21 Ultra was going to take all the Note owners and increase their accessory sales
Yeah,
by making Note owners buy S Pen separately. And that didn't pan out because a lot of people were waiting to see if there was going to be a Note in the second half of the year, even though we were pretty confident there wasn't going to be. So now they're just taking the Ultra. The Ultra is not a Galaxy S. It is in no way, shape, or form resemble the other S series phones. So now it's just a Note by a different name, but that's perfect clickbait title. Looks like Samsung really is gonna kill the Note this year.
they're setting it
Yes,
up.
they actually brought it back this year. That's
Yeah,
the stupidest
they just released it a few
non-tech.
months later.
Yeah, it's a nothing burger of a headline. Like, it is the dumbest tech editorial that someone can write right now. So again, it's all of this stuff is just floating near what could be really exciting. And I don't feel we learned some of the lessons that we should have by LG exiting the smartphone market. We're just
No,
like, nah, they
unfortunately.
failed. Like, no, what you lost was actually something really precious if you didn't like LG. If you were a Samsung fan, on their home turf, you lost the company that was putting the most pressure on Samsung to keep up and to innovate and to improve. And right now, when they've got 85% market share in South Korea, if you're a Samsung fan, you should be very concerned about Samsung's strategies moving forward.
I know it's going to be very. I don't know, man. 2022 is starting off on the wrong foot, so I'm trying to take it as easy. My heart can only take so much. We turned 50 today, so how
50 episodes.
50
We're
episodes in.
middle-aged, both in our podcast and in real life.
No, 50 on the episode, and then I'm up to 100 on mine, so it's actually pretty decent. I mean, we've been doing a really nice run. So like I said, I'm trying to see how it goes, and I hopefully I don't lose my voice. Every CES, I always come back with laryngitis for some reason because you talk too much, and it just ends up being one of those things. So I'm hoping for a good week. not filled with stress. I know there's going to be some announcement things that we need to cover, but overall, I think I'm hoping for a little bit more chill kind of a CES. We'll see how that goes. I'll be reporting from the show floor. Let's just say that.
So I'm going to try and point some people to your content. Definitely, as you're putting stuff out there, I'll be giving it a share, and hopefully everyone else here will too. Be also sharing
please.
what's
Thank
going
you.
on.
As always, man. Everybody,
trip in
Aditya, Greg, everybody hanging out with us. Michael Corrigan is in there as well. Steve DeRoche, as always, hanging out with us on this lovely Thursday evening. And some of you, depending where you are, you're probably already on New Year's Eve, so you're ahead of us as time goes in this international timeline here. And the Fold 3 is really expensive. And you're actually going to get.
No, you didn't need to read it. I just wanted to put that up there because
I know I was mentally reading it.
Steve actually motivated me to try and do a movie playback test in the middle of our podcast, and my hand choreography for getting that lined up on camera just didn't work. So
it is one of those. Yeah, it'll be one of those fun days. But yeah, next week's going to be fun. It'll be better. Hopefully, it'll be more exciting. There will be more news to cover. So make sure to catch Juan on Monday on the SGGQA as usual on his show on 9 a.m. There will not be an Android Bay this weekend as I'll be in the traveling, but I will be having hopefully one next week, and I'll see you guys obviously on the best of our week on Thursday evening. We may have to change something. I think I may have something booked. We may have to move it a little bit, but we'll talk for Thursday. And then hopefully for Saturday before I come back into the craziness that is back here, and hopefully the internet works. So I will say this. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you, Juan, for hanging out with us again. For Aditya, Steve, Gary, Greg, Jeff, Technol in there as well. If I missed anybody else, I want to say there's a few other. I think I saw Andrew in there earlier as well. Hope he's doing well.
Yeah, he was floating around.
Michael Corrigan as well. Aditya, Tech. Gary, of course, can't forget Gary and his accounting classes, or everybody with us. Be safe, stay safe. I'm going to try to be safe next week, so hopefully I don't end up being one of those where I start posting comments and guess what? No, just kidding. Just take care of yourself, and just that's the best thing I can say. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.